Hi, everyone. Scratch that. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Funke Afolabi Brown, the founder of Restful Sleep MD. Have you noticed that melatonin use is on the rise? I'm sure you probably have, maybe used it a couple of times, maybe given it to your children. There have been some really staggering statistics, and because this product is it's marketed because this product is marketed as a natural supplement, it really doesn't go through any of the rigorous evaluations and oversight that other medications would. And so one of the alarming statistics that I read about was that ingestion of melatonin in children has gone up from 8,000 in 2012 to about 52,000 in 2021. And so that's really scary. And then also what they found out was that up to 15% of children who have overdosed on melatonin needed to be hospitalized. So again, this is something that I wanted to bring to you so we could talk a little bit about what's going on with melatonin, when can we use it, is it even safe in kids, and all of that. So now there are studies that have shown that melatonin is very helpful, right? In children who either have developmental differences, as well as in children who have a shift in their clocks, in their body clock. So their sleep schedule is off. And some of those children may have what you call delayed sleep phase syndrome, where you are just not able to fall asleep at an earlier time. We see that a lot in our adolescents and teenage population. And then in children with ADHD and autism, there's actually been quite a lot of research, and most of the research in melatonin has been done in them. Now, what are the benefits of using melatonin? The preparation that's most common is the short-acting form, and that comes in tablet form. It comes in chewable pills. It comes in, in liquid or suspension form. And what it's been shown to do, especially in those children with developmental differences, is that it decreases the time to sleep onset, right? So which is awesome. So they're falling asleep sooner, and also they have increased total sleep time. So we do want that for our kids. The only issue is in typically developing children with sleeplessness, the studies are just really not available. So some people feel that it helps. Sometimes it helps on the short term, and then over time they start to struggle and start to need more and more. So again, we do need a lot of research on this. Now, what are some side effects of melatonin? There have been a few studies that have looked at that. Most of them have looked at, I've seen things like excessive daytime sleepiness. They've seen things like mood swings. They have reported things like children having bedwetting when they were dry before. And also some children have actually had more nightmares. Now, there's a big question that I was asked the other day in terms of puberty. This sounds really alarming, right? If you go out on the wild, wild west of, Google and all the research. And there are truly some studies that have shown that there might be a possible role that melatonin has in puberty. But a lot of those studies have been done in like mouse models and things like that. There have not really been rigorous studies to show this effect in children or in adults or things like that. And in fact, there was a study that I really liked. I think that came out in about 2021 by an amazing researcher called Beth Marlowe, who's done a lot of research actually in autism and ADHD and in the role of melatonin. And what she looked at was about 80 children from 2 to 17 years who were given melatonin, and they were given this melatonin, the extended release preparation, which is available in pill form. They gave this preparation for about 104 weeks. So that's 2 years. And they did a whole bunch of things, looking at side effect profiles and, the impact on the axis that regulates puberty and things like that. And they really did not find any effect on growth and development over that 2-year period, right? Which is good. They found a few side effects from, like I mentioned before, sleepiness, mood swings, and bedwetting. So I think that's reassuring, but we need much more studies. And so why do people still use melatonin, and why has it been going up, especially with the pandemic? I think one of the things we are seeing is there's a lot of sleep problems, right? Children are having a harder time sleeping. There's a lot of anxiety that's playing a role. There may be less physical activity. And so people are looking for a solution. And so when you go to the store and you grab, something from over the counter that says natural, who doesn't want that, right? The truth is our brains produce enough melatonin to help us with sleep. And so a lot of times those natural or additional or what we call exogenous melatonin supplements come in super high amounts. Unfortunately, there's also such a wide variation in the content, anywhere from studies have shown from minus 83% to 478% of the labeled content of melatonin, right? And so unfortunately, the studies that have looked at this, have looked at it even in the children's versions, so in the chewable form and also I think in the liquid form. So that really does cause some concern, like how much am I actually giving my child? Is that appropriate or not? And then the other factor is a lot of them have this candy-like and colorful look, which will be very attractive to children. They want their gummy, right? And so we have to just be careful. And my recommendation is to treat melatonin the same way you would treat other medications, because they can get to it, they can take too much of it. If they take too much of it, I really don't know what that impact would have on your child. The research is showing some children can't get hospitalized from overdose. Okay, so then what do we do, right? Like, okay, I need to give my child melatonin, or my child has been on melatonin. How do I get them off? What I recommend is really, if you think of why you're giving your child melatonin. Is it because they're having troubles falling asleep? Is it because they're having trouble staying asleep? Do they have an underlying medical problem? Are they snoring? Are they constantly tossing and turning in their sleep? That may be an indication before you pick up that melatonin to speak with your physician to say, okay, can we look into this? Do we need to see a sleep specialist? Do we need to get a sleep study? I think that's the first place to start, right? If your child has sleeplessness or insomnia, either due to them just really pushing back and not wanting to sleep and things like that, my recommendation, whether you eventually go down melatonin route or not, is one, to look for behavioral and other non-pharmacologic treatments, non-medicine treatments for insomnia. So what does that look like? Look like limit setting at bedtime. It may look like helping them to fall asleep independently using staged approaches or gradual approaches in that sense, or just doing it, right? Just pulling the plug in that sense. So it may look like, having a reward system for when they stay in their beds. You're going to have to walk through that. And if you follow my channel, I've talked a lot about different ways to get your child to sleep independently and different ways to address your frequent night visitor when they come to visit at night. And then the other thing is, if you've done all that and you feel your child does need to be on melatonin, say for instance, they are sort of on the spectrum or they have ADHD or other things going on, my recommendation is again to speak with your doctor. And then also you make sure that even if you're taking melatonin, one is that you buy the one that has that USP verified mark. So if you go to like a supplement store and things like that, they always have that mark, USP verified. And so what that really just means is that they had good manufacturing standards. The oversight was a little bit better. At least you have more assurance about what you're giving your child in terms of the formulation and the concentration. And then the third thing is, if you do use melatonin, my suggestion is to start with the lowest possible dose to achieve the desired results. So there's such a wide range of doses. We go from anywhere from about 0.5 milligrams to up to 10 milligrams. And I've heard some people even use up to 30 milligrams. I feel like once you start to get to about 5 or 6 milligrams, if it's not working, it's not likely to be something, the sleep issue is not likely to be something that will resolve with melatonin. So start with the lowest possible dose. Start with 0.5 milligram if you have a younger child, and then gradually go up probably to about 2 or 3 milligrams if your child is younger. If you have an older child, a teenager, I wouldn't go more than 5 milligrams. And also, again, that would be in consultation with your doctor, with a sleep specialist, because depending on what you're trying to achieve with the melatonin, the dose you might need, even for those whose sleep schedule is off, may actually be much lower. Now, in terms of the timing you should give the melatonin, usually I would say about 30 minutes before the desired bedtime, and usually that's okay. Now, if you're giving it because they have a shift in their schedule, like in a delayed sleep phase syndrome, you shouldn't really be handling that yourself by now. That should be done by your doctor or, sleep specialist. Really, sometimes we talk about using a very, very low dose, several hours actually before bedtime. So again, you can start to see there are nuances to this. So what is the takeaway? Studies have shown melatonin is effective in children with ADHD, in children with other developmental differences, as well as in children who may have a shift in their body clocks, like delayed sleep phase syndrome. 2 is the content of melatonin is not regulated in a way that we are sure that you're consistently getting the dose that you thought you're getting. 3 is there are non-medical, non-pharmaceutical and behavioral options that you can use to help your child sleep, and I would recommend you doing that first. And finally, if you decide you are going to give melatonin to your child, be aware that there are a few side effects you can look for. We still need more research to look at the impact long term, and this should be done in consultation with your doctor. So I hope this has been helpful. If it has, I would love it if you like this video, if you share it, and if you subscribe to my channel, so that way, once new content is out, you would be the first to know. And until next time, I hope you rest well.